passe l'artiste. Super, encore un but sensationnel. That's a brilliant bit of follow-up play by Mahe. Oh my goodness me, what a shot.
Sagosen setter det hen! Han setter den! De er i semifinale igjen!
Welcome to the Uninformed Handball Hour and an emergency podcast. We've been waiting to do a Bundesliga preview because Chris O'Reilly is so busy organizing a festival. But this news couldn't wait. This news could not wait. And that is the fact that Stefan Kretzschmar and Jaron Siewert have both left Berlin with immediate effect, and Nikolai Krikow, as reported by the rag Bild back in the day, that has come true. Sent shockwaves through the handball world. Fuchse Berlin, at the height of power and success, completely decimate their whole coaching team, and we're in a third game of the season. This is pretty wild. I can't remember anything like this in handball. I don't think there's even been anything like this in all of sport. This type of huge shift in a club that's at the peak of success. That was Kulesh here, and Chris O'Reilly joins me.
My God.
What the hell is going on?
What the hell is going on? I mean, Bundesliga champions, Champions League finalists, best player in the world, everything looking great. All I could think of last night is like, what bust up caused this? What behind the scenes, like conspiracies or manipulations have been going on and have finally come to the surface to force it to happen? It's wild. I find it really hard to believe. It's one of those things you won't be able to actually really picture until you see it on the sideline, like for their next game, because it's unfathomable. Like, and there we were, like not so long ago, talking about how, Bill might be reporting it, but why would someone so close to the peak of world handball be leaving a club like that? Was it of his own volition? That's what we're going to delve into, because Alex, you are the informed one in this podcast.
So you have to clarify which of the two parties here, because it's a package deal. Both Stefan Kretzschmar and Jaron Siewert have left. Bob Hanning has put down the hammer. He wanted to be very sure that he is the ultimate man. And when you talk about bust-ups, I think it all stems from the tension that's always been there between Bob Hanning and Stefan Kretzschmar. And crazy to say that Jaron Siewert is kind of collateral damage here, which is, I know he's only 31. He's a young lad, but he can't treat a Bundesliga winning coach like that, which is it's really wild. Maybe stepping through the timeline of this. So both Kretzschmar and Jaron Siewert were in the last year of their contract, being the 25-26 season. And I think there's been ongoing negotiations for quite a while between Bob Hanning and both Stefan Kretzschmar and Jaron Siewert separately. This been ongoing throughout the summer. Kretzschmar kind of coming out being probably slightly inflammatory, saying, I need certainty here. I can't go and sign players until I have my own contract in place. Kind of starting that public turmoil, and I think that is really the cause of this immediate sacking of both. It's the fact that it all became so public. Basically, Bob Hanning was supposed to come back and decide on the future of the club this summer. It kind of moved from August to September, and still we're hearing nothing. As in, Bob Hang saying, yeah, we'll be decided in September, maybe October. And at this point, it's starting to get very frosty. So on the 25th of August, there's some Sport Build awards, and the tension between the three parties is palpable. That if Fuchse Berlin gets a slew of awards, and it's Bob Hanning, Jaron Siewert, and Stefan Kretzschmar on the stage. Icy is how you describe that. No public bashings there. It's still a moment of celebration, but the tension is, right at its peak. Then it really all blows up. Bob Hanning on the 31st of August, and this is in basically the halftime interview of a Fuchse Berlin game with Din. He goes off at Kretzschmar. Basically, it's still relatively high level, but complaining about the public nature of these discussions, and he's saying, I'm going to deliver it in September, October. Just, why did you make it public? Kind of really putting the pressure on Kretzschmar. And Kretzschmar says, "Fuck all y'all. This is too much for me," and puts up an Instagram post, apparently not speaking to anyone at the club. Again, this is reports that we're following here. On the 2nd of September, says, "You know what? We've had a good run. This is lovely. I'm happy with everything we've done here, but I'm gone at the end of the season.
Wow.
Didn't give me a contract in time. I can't work like this. I'm gone." And then 3 days later is when the massive bomb hits. And that is with the fact that, with immediate effect, Bob Hanning and the shareholders remove Stefan Kretzschmar and Jaron Siewert from their positions as coach and managing director, sporting director, and install Nikolai Krichau as both. So Nikolai Krichau is now the coach and sporting director, taking on a dual role, which, according to Bob Hanning, will also give financial flexibility to the club. And I don't know exactly how much Jaron Siewert and Stefan Kretzschmar are getting paid, but I'm going to guess it's not going to be the one of them leaving is not going to change the financial structure of Fuchse Berlin dramatically.
Yeah. I wonder if in that case it's going to be a bit of a job sharing role. So Bob Hanning will take on some of the responsibilities, maybe on the bench, maybe as a sporting director. He does fancy himself as a man of pretty much every trade in this sport. So could be Big Bob in the dual role.
It's strange because Bob Hanning himself was supposed to decide on his own future as well. I think I don't remember exactly his contractual situation. I don't think it was as pressing, but he himself, I think, was looking to figure out what his next step is. But truly, this is a power play never before seen by Bob Hanning. Like, really, I was trying to think of comparisons in any other sport where a successful coach is immediately sacked after. This is the best season Fuchse Berlin have ever had. Bundesliga title, final of Champions League, and 2 games into the season and 1 trophy into the new season, the coach gets sacked. They're really, I couldn't find a single comparable situation. Like there is in football, like there was Di Matteo at Chelsea who won the Champions League as interim manager, and then very shortly into the new season was sacked. But again, that's poor performances, interim manager, not a coach that's been in place. I think the bigger parallels are maybe with the Real Madrid, the Galacticos Real Madrid of the early
Mm.
2000s. There was kind of maybe it's a combination of both here that there was Vicente del Bosque in 2003, um, winning La Liga. The Real Madrid were in finally stepping into their potential just before all of the Galacticos, just before the Figos and the Ronaldos, but ready for that. And he has a disagreement with Florentino Perez, the big, probably the ultimate kind of director figure in
Bob
all the
Hanning.
sports. The the
Football's Bob
closest
Hanning.
football's Bob Hanning, exactly. Slightly more professional clothes, or not as
Mm.
jazzy clothes, but maybe
Wow.
apparently the same temperament. And he just kind of got rid of Angelo Del Bosque after great success and what looked like to be continued success, or a little bit like Fabio Capello in 2007, again winning the La Liga, but he just wasn't sexy enough for Real Madrid. And maybe it's kind of a combination of those. We have the Stefan Kretzschmar having conflict with Bob Hanning, being the Vincenzo Del Bosch comparison there, and the Jaron Siewert is not sexy enough for this club on his own without the backing of Stefan, potentially reflecting Fabio Capello. But this is still unparalleled in the world of sport, and I don't really know what they were thinking. Do you think it's how big of a risk do you think this is?
Oh, it's a massive risk. But I mean, except for the fact that they have brought in probably the one guy that Matthias Gietzel probably trusts more than anything. Like, if there was any other coach thrown in there, I think that it has the makings of an absolute disaster. Like, Krikow knows him very, very well. He probably knows Anderson as well. Grundle, because the GOG connection, even if he wasn't coaching him directly. So I think there'll be that automatic kind of exciting with him. And the people who have gone through the system in Berlin, I think, are Bob Hanning men, not necessarily Stefan Kretschmar men or Jaron Siewert men. They're Bob Hanning men. They're people who were probably coached by him in underage teams, coached by him in Potsdam, like Lasse Ludwig and Fabian Vida. Paul Drux is still in the club. So I think Bob has the dressing room together with Krikow. So I think in that sense, they'll be okay. The risk isn't as horrendous as it could have been for literally any other situation. So and that's what makes me think there's a lot more to this as well. And I wonder about things like budget. You could imagine like Kretschmar and Sievert would be like frustrated by the constraints, playing with 15 men in the squad again this season. It's like, and having been like coming so close in the Champions League final and then being manhandled by the team that they had outclassed all season long, and saying, okay, we need to get in, another 3-4 players, and they get one or they get two in and they lose three, and they end up with a better squad but a smaller squad, and that you can imagine that would frustrate the people like Kretschmar and Sievert, who are very kind of tactically minded, probably long-term thinking minded as well, while Bob is busy counting the euros, counting the old Deutschmarks. So I wonder if that has also got a part to play in this, and how much of that will come out now over the months, because that has always felt like a little bit of an odd thing about Berlin, that they have really, they go big, but at the same time they go on the edge of everything collapsing. Like if they had a couple of months like Magdeburg have every season, they would have no team anymore.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, and your conspiracy hat here, tinfoils on the head. could this have something to do with the rumors of Seaman Putlik going to Fuchse Berlin? Those rumors have been around for 12 months now. Ever since Nikolai Krikow really left Lensburg, Seaman Putlik has been, there's been rumors about him. There's been a lot of links with Fuchse Berlin in that time, the connection with Giesel, everything around that. And I wonder if there was basically a situation where Stefan Kretzschmar, who is the lead recruiter here, we talked to him a couple of years ago, and he kind of retold the story of how he got Matthias Giesel, how he managed to literally, spending time in Giesel's apartment, talking him through what it would be like in Berlin. That kind of level of interaction. And I wonder if Stefan Kretzschmar, who I was actually listening to his interview on the Spin, We Talk Handball podcast. Also, just very, very quick aside, I can't believe how similar their intro is to our one, the Spin. And the fact that it starts with your commentary, it's just incredible. It's just incredible.
You've noticed that now. They've been doing it for 2 years, and you finally listen to it.
But they had a pretty good interview with Stefan Kretzschmar, and they actually asked them about that the rumor. This was around November last year, and Kretzschmar was not pushing it away. He wasn't confirming it. He was saying, "Oh, it would be an amazing backcourt." So I have a feeling there's something around Siewert Putlik here that could have started some conflict.
Yeah.
This Bob Hanning penny pinching versus Kretzschmar maybe looking for ambition here, and that leading to a little bit of conflict, maybe a little bit of disagreement on the future. That kind of signing is a signal of intent and the way you're going to develop and shape the team in the future. And if that doesn't happen, you start reconsidering what is actually the direction that the club is going with. So that's maybe a little bit of inferring into some potential conflict, but could be a reason. And ultimately, I think that relationship was always strained. It's really difficult. They're both professionals. They work together. They got success, and the fact that they kind of had this big bust up right at the peak of success, or close to the highest peak you can get, is a little bit of a surprise. But maybe when you're working on something, when you're putting your mind to it, you kind of set aside all conflict. When you have a clear goal, winning the Bundesliga, that was their goal. They came third, second, then first. When you kind of reach your goal, you reach your target, that's when you kind of step back and try to think about, okay, we got there, but was it all worth it? Essentially, and can we keep going in this way?
You touched on the collateral damage here being Jaron Siewert, and that is, it's somehow he's like secondary in all of this to Kretzschmar, but he's got a feel for him as well, and he's going to be fine. He's super young, super talented, super successful so far in what he's done, but I was so flabbergasted earlier in the summer when there was that talk about, he has to start thinking about his future. Well, now he has to start thinking about his future. So what of him? And also how terrible must he be feeling about all of this? Because there must also be a little bit of him feeling like he's a pawn.
Yeah. So apparently, quite literally, he is collateral damage because according to some reports, Jaron Siewert and Bob Hanning had a contract agreed or very at the final stages. It was supposed to be a 1-year contract extension beyond 25, 26 into 26, 27.
Okay.
That contract was nearly there, nearly signed. They, between Bob Hanning and Jaron Siewert, they were close to agreement. And when things blew up with Kretzschmar, that was just tossed aside. The opportunity with Nikolai Krickau came up. I wonder if the initial, obviously, they had been talking to Nikolai Krickau for a long time. You don't quite make that sort of announcement immediately if you don't have a deal almost in place. And I wonder if it was going to be a bit of a transition role, a bit of like Nikolai Krickau in as sporting director for a season, then extend Jaron Siewert to maintain continuity, and then Nikolai Krickau takes over. Maybe that was something that could have happened. That sounds like a terrible idea, honestly. But you got to feel sorry for him. He is honestly, I don't think he gets enough credit for what he's done. I think tactically, he's just a quiet guy. He's a reserved guy. He's the guy who focuses on tactics, keeps the team ticking along. And honestly, he's the one, I'm going to give him the credit. It may have been a concoction between all of them, but the way that he's utilized Matthias Giesel in this right back, centre back role, the same way that we've seen left backs, and kind of really unleashed Giesel to a wider extent by having Niels Lickline there as a left-handed playmaker and giving Giesel the whole court to work with. That is a really big kind of tactical implementation that has worked incredibly successfully and has, brought Giesel to the next level. You have, Darren Sievert's the coach, so this is the man who kind of implements these tactics.
Yeah.
And it's just down to very simple things like their fast break and their transition attack and second wave. It's just meticulous. It's beautiful. It's effortless. And that's coaching. To have a team, you have a team that is all together pulling in the same direction. And you can't disregard the coach's role in that. And all of these things, he's done such a great job. To be just cast aside is honestly an insult. It's disheartening. It's like, I don't know, it's like kicking the kid with glasses or bullying the kid in the wheelchair.
What an opportunity for Nikolai Krickau, though. On the flip side, a man who not so long ago was maybe in his own way a little bit collateral damage in what happened with Flensburg, and was a shock cast aside in shocking fashion. Probably in a lot of people's eyes, particularly in Germany, wouldn't have been considered as somebody who would get an opportunity like this anytime soon. Probably you think, he has to work his way back through Northern Europe to get in there again. But now he's just been given a chance to really also stick it to Flensburg, and maybe also be a conduit to bringing Simon Putlik over for maybe a little bit cheaper. So this could also be a long-term play. It's one of those things you'll look back on in a year and you're like, a lot more info will come out. Some moves will be made. We'll see who wins the Bundesliga this season, and then hindsight will help us pick it apart. It's fascinating, and something which I think we'll be talking for a little bit more in the weeks to come in our Bundesliga launch post Fringe Festival. As I sit here in the Furlande Kulturhus, a place I've been to many times playing handball, but this time talking about handball while I should be doing something else. So I think in that we might have to shortly wrap up this emergency podcast. But any final thoughts from you, Alex, before we do that?
I do think so Nikolai Krickau now goes straight into the fire as they're playing Magdeburg this weekend in the first game post
Stefan Kretzschmar will be wearing a Magdeburg jersey sitting in the stands.
So like that's a cauldron of fire. I think for Nikolai Krikow that just having Matthias Giesel is just something that is it gives you an incredible base to work with. This team is just going to run through every team, and weirdly, and we'll get into this in our Bundesliga launch, but I feel like Fuchse Berlin don't have as much pressure as they should this year. I think most people have Magdeburg as pretty strong favorites, and like I don't think it's a case that Nikolai Krikow is expected to win the league. I think Jaron Siewert would have been expected to win the league again, or at least be right there. But success for Nikolai Krikow this year is probably going to be just, finish in the Champions League spots. That's the top two. Still very difficult, but it's, there's a bit of leeway. Obviously, his reign in Flensburg was a bit of a disaster. He was probably let go too soon, but I don't think he proved too much in that time that there was, there was reason to let him go as well. Yeah, like he had a decent amount of time. I think with the team and Fuchse Berlin's setup, Nikolai Krikow gets what he wanted in Flensburg. Remember when we talked to him, he mentioned that youth setup, the full kind of club oversight and driving direction, similar to GOG, where you have a youth team. Right. You kind of build, that's your base. You build a squad on top of that. Fuchse Berlin have already been doing that for such a long time. He gets that. He gets a team that's stylistically perfectly suited to him. He gets Matthias Giesel, and this team could fly. So wild news. Absolutely heartbreaking for Siewert. Probably I'm not as heartbroken for Stefan Kretzschmar. It's a bit more entertaining and an incredible opportunity for Nikolai Krikow.
Yeah. Wow. As if the Bundesliga needed any more storylines to get the new season started. But there you go. Honestly. It's an absolute bomb. And what a way to kick us off. And as promised from Sunday, I'm be a free man again and diving headfirst, I feel, into the handball world once again. But thank you all for your patience in the meantime, and I hope you enjoyed this little emergency pod, which we'll put up everywhere. I think we'll put it on the Patreon, but we'll also put it up for fans everywhere, and we'll be back again shortly with more good stuff. Right, Alex?
Yeah, and do join us on Patreon. So these type of podcasts, these in-depth insights into kind of specific topics is something that we try to do every week with the Morning Club. That's only for Patreon members. That's, if you really want to hear those details, the rumors, the match analysis, that's coming to you every week in Patreon, along with ad-free podcasts. Now that we have a few ads on our mainstream, so the podcast will be ad-free. It's just €3 a month. It helps us get more and more podcasts out, and we appreciate everyone who's continued to follow us through summer. But now it's the new season. Time to join in.
Let's do it. All right. Thank you all for listening. Catch you again soon. Goodbye.